The World Cup is the biggest football tournament on the planet, and throughout history, some teams came so close to lifting the trophy that the gap between glory and heartbreak was measured in inches, or controversy. Today, we're answering a question that has sparked debates among football fans for decades. Which was the greatest national team that never won a World Cup? 5 candidates, 5 stories, and at the end, only one will stand as the greatest team football history never rewarded. Before we get to the real contenders, we need to talk about a team that a lot of people bring up in this conversation. Portugal, 1966. And I'll be honest, Portugal, 1966 doesn't make the cut. Here's why. That Portugal side finished 3rd in a World Cup, played in England. They had one of the greatest players the world has ever seen, Eusébio, a player with pace, technique, and finishing ability that very few footballers in history have ever matched. But here's the thing. Take Eusébio out of that team, and what do you have left? A decent side, organized, competitive, but nothing close to the collective level of the teams we're about to discuss. Portugal, 1966 was built around one individual. And when we talk about the greatest team that never won a World Cup, we're talking about the collective. Eusébio was extraordinary, but you don't win a World Cup on your own. And that's why Portugal, 1966, with all due respect, is out of this conversation. Brazil, 1982 is probably the most romanticized team in Brazilian football history. And honestly, there's a good reason for that. That squad played football in a way you simply didn't see anywhere else in the world. Zico, Socrates, Falcão, Junior, Cerezo, a midfield that is still considered one of the most talented ever assembled in a national team. The football they played was fluid, attacking, creative, and collective. It was what Brazilians call futebol arte in its purest form. Brazil 1982 didn't lose because they played badly. They lost to Italy in a game that left a huge mark on football history, and one that still comes with a massive asterisk attached to it. But we'll save that discussion for another video because it deserves a deep dive of its own. What matters here is this. Brazil 1982 had a structural weakness that the greatest teams in history usually don't have. Defensively, they were vulnerable. The philosophy was simple. We'll score more than you, and most of the time it worked. But in a knockout tournament, where one game decides everything, defensive flaws can be fatal. Brazil 1982 is one of the most beautiful teams ever to play at a World Cup. But beauty and efficiency aren't the same thing, and at the highest level of football, you need both. If Brazil 1982 was beautiful but vulnerable, Brazil 2006 was something completely different. They were loaded with talent. Just look at the names. Ronaldo, a 2-time world champion and one of the greatest strikers the sport has ever seen. Ronaldinho, the best player in the world at that moment, coming off legendary seasons with Barcelona. Kaka, one of the best midfielders on the planet, who would win the Ballon d'Or the very next year. Adriano, a physical monster with power, technique, and a left-foot defenders feared across Europe, all on the same team, at the same time. On paper, this squad looked unstoppable, but that World Cup was defined by a shocking lack of preparation, a feeling that the title had already been won before the tournament even started, a dressing room full of superstars, and a style of football that never came close to matching the talent available. Brazil went out in the quarterfinals against France, and they were completely outplayed by Zinedine Zidane. But honestly, anyone watching that tournament closely could see it coming. The team never clicked, never found a real identity, never played as a unit. Brazil 2006 didn't lose because of a lack of talent. They lost because of overconfidence and a lack of collective chemistry, and more than any opponent, that's what ended their World Cup. Now we're entering serious territory. Hungary, 1954 is considered by many football historians to be one of the greatest national teams of all time. Not just among teams that never won, among all teams, period. This side went 4 years without losing a match. 4 years. They steamrolled almost every opponent they faced. At the 1954 World Cup, Hungary crushed West Germany 8-3 in the group stage, and they arrived at the final as the overwhelming favorites. Led by Ferenc Puskas, one of the greatest players football has ever produced. Then came the final. The same Germany that had been demolished 8-3 earlier in the tournament suddenly turned the tables and won 3-2. The match became known as the Miracle of Bern, and it's still debated to this day. Puskas played injured. Germany made crucial tactical adjustments, and there were even rumors and suspicions surrounding performance-enhancing substances, because going from an 8-3 humiliation to a victory in the final against the exact same opponent remains one of the strangest turnarounds in World Cup history. Hungary, 1954 was dominant, historic, extraordinary, yet somehow they never lifted the trophy. And now, we arrive at the winner. But before we talk about what the Netherlands did on the pitch, we need to understand the football world they entered. Football in 1974 was a game of fixed positions. Defenders defended. Midfielders controlled the middle. Strikers stayed up front. Everything was rigid, predictable. Then, the Netherlands arrived. What they brought to the World Cup wasn't just a great team. It was an entirely new way of thinking about football, a philosophy known as total football. The idea was simple to understand and almost impossible to stop. Any player could occupy any position on the pitch. A fullback could become a midfielder could drop into defense, a striker could press like a defensive midfielder. The entire team moved as a single organism, fluid, dynamic, constantly evolving. Johan Cruyff was the face of that revolution. But what made this team truly special was that the system worked beyond any individual player. It wasn't a team built around Cruyff. It was a system where every player amplified the others. The Netherlands tore through the tournament, playing football the world had never seen before. They reached the final as the most admired, feared, and celebrated team in the competition, and then they lost to West Germany on German soil, against a more conservative but brutally efficient side. But here's the difference between the Netherlands and every other candidate in this video. The others were great teams. The Netherlands 1974 was a revolution. They didn't just play great football, they changed football forever. The influence of total football is still visible today. In Guardiola's Barcelona, in modern pressing systems, in positional play, in the way elite teams organize movement, possession, and pressure. All of it traces back, in one way or another, to what the Netherlands showed the world in 1974. No other team on this list can claim a legacy like that. Every team we've discussed today had the quality to win a World Cup. Some lost because of tactical flaws, some lost because of poor preparation, some lost because football can simply be cruel. But only one of them lost while still convincing the world that they were the best team on the planet. And only one of them changed the sport forever, without ever lifting the trophy. The Netherlands of 1974 is the greatest national team that never won a World Cup. Do you agree with this ranking? Or is there another team that deserved the #1 spot? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe, because next time we're diving into one of the most controversial topics in football history, the biggest World Cup controversies ever. See you in the next one.